Good evening. I want to remind you again to either turn your cell phones completely off or to put them on happy pants. We're very fortunate tonight to have with us a visitor whose name you may or may not know. It's one of our founding fathers. It's, of course, June the 5th, but the year is 1621. Mr. John Smith has already arrived here. He started a colony. You, of course, are here as well to make your fortune in the New World. And I wish you all the luck. So please welcome with me tonight, Mr. John Rolfe.
I was told to expect some new settlers from England off the ship. Is that you?
Yes.
I've not seen you before. You must be those persons. Well, I, John Rolfe, greet you here to the colony of Virginia. And I, beyond greeting you, wish to tell you something about what's gone on here before you got to this place, this colony of Virginia and the capital at Jamestown. And I tell you what's gone on before, for the more you know about what's gone on before, the better your chances of surviving until next year. You have an interest in that, do you not? Do you not have an interest in your survival?
Yes.
One would hope you do. Now, whether or not you have an interest in your survival, we do. And the investors who've paid a great deal of money to get you here from England, they have an interest in your survival, for corpses work very poorly. Well, all right. I think I can tell you what you need to know about this colony in about 4 or 5 hours' time. That is too long? Oh, perhaps we can do it in less than that. I'll talk fast. Well, all right. I told you my name is John Rolfe, but you may well know my wife's name better than you know mine. Any of you? Pocahontas was my wife. And I say was my wife rather than is my wife, for in this year, the year of 1621, sadly, she no longer lives. She perished a few years ago on a trip we made to England in 1616 and 17. But I should talk about Pocahontas. I should talk about her family and the native people, the Powhatans, for a few moments, for they are important to all of us. The Powhatans. I'll start by telling you that, my friends, they are strange. They're strange in their manner of speech. If they were to talk to you, as I am talking with you now, you might not understand one word. They are strange also in their manner of dress. They do not dress as you and I. We dress the same, do we not, you and I?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I dress myself in cloth, and I see rather a lot of cloth round here. You and I, we dress ourselves in cloth. The native people have no cloth, not the Powhatans. If they dress themselves in the summertime at all, did you hear that? If they dress themselves at all in the summertime, the young ones, the short ones, the children among them, let me tell you what they wear in the summertime. No thing. And the full-grown adults, the men among them and the women among them, to the waist they wear nothing. In the back here, nothing back there. Only in the front they wear an apron of the skin of an animal right there. Well, they're strange to us. But my friends, I must tell you something about the native people. As strange as they are to us, we are to them. Strangeness is not good. Strangeness is not bad. Strange is what you're not used to. And there it is. That is the reality of it. It is not good or bad. It is strange. And to us it is. Now I must tell you, round here, we are close, as you know, to the James River. Your ship came up the James after it passed through the Great Bay, which the native people call Chesapeake. And from the Chesapeake, or Chesapeake, as it is called, to the east would be, of course, England, across the Atlantic Ocean. My friend, Captain John Smith, well, upon his charts and maps and so forth, I believe I have one here, I wish for you to know how he called the great Atlantic Ocean. Can you read? Not well. Can you?
Yes, I hope.
What does that say?
The Virginian Sea.
I believe she said the Virginian Sea. That is the Atlantic. Well, this is Captain Smith's map. And the native people have been living around here for many, many years. All of the waterways have their names. When we came from England, they already had names. The James was the Powhatan. There was the Appomattox, the Chickahominy, the Rappahannock, the Patawomack, English call it Potomac. And they all flow into the Great Bay, the Chesapeake. Well, this is the homeland of Pocahontas, this place. And it is well documented now by Captain John Smith with his travels round. He made excursions round in the Great Bay in the year of 1608 on 2 occasions, and this map resulted from that. In 1612, this was published in London. Well, we learned a great deal about this place rather quickly, but not enough and not soon enough. You should be glad you're coming now and not before. It was the first arrival in 1607. Captain John Smith, about 104 of them stayed, but there were mariners on board the ships that did not. But 104 of them stayed. But as you walk around here in this your new land, I have something I'd better tell you. I'd rather not tell you. This next part brings me no pleasure, but 'tis true. You'll be walking upon the bodies of those who came before. More died than lived. I came in the year 1610, 3 years after the first arrival. But there have been ships coming each year. Those first 3, the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, the Discovery, they were only the first. They were not the only ones to come. They've come each year. And most of those who came in 1607, 1608, 1609, they perished. More died than lived. Of that 104 who first stayed here in 1607, 6 months later, half of them were dead. And then it got bad after that. Oh, it was worse. The worst of it was perhaps the year 1609 to 10, the winter of that year. At the end of that year of 1609, there were only about 500 settlers remaining alive. Only 500 of all those who had come up to that time. Do you know how many of them survived? How many were alive with the beginning of the spring of 1610? Any of you know? Perhaps some of you do. Of the 500, 60 remained alive. When I casually use words such as more died than lived, well, 'tis easy to say. The words flow off the tongue, but my friends, we're talking about lives like yours and mine. 440 of 500 of that first group in the first 3 years perished. Those who were remaining alive. It is tragic. They died of all sorts of things. They died of an illness, one sort or other. They died of, well, fighting with the natives. That killed many, hundreds. Most commonly, they died from not enough to eat. Simple as that. Starvation killed more than any other single thing. There it is. That reminds me of the importance of Pocahontas. And I should say something about them. I told you that they were more like us, perhaps, than not. I told you they were strange, but they are much alike us. They have hands and heads, and they must breathe and eat. They are... Is it not true that in Europe we have different languages and different kings and nations. Is that not true? Among the natives, 'tis the same. Despite your eyes looking upon them, all in their skins, you might say that one is like that one, they're all the same. My friends, they're not. They have different languages. They have different kings and nations. If they talk round here about their king, they do not say we have a chief of our tribe. Tribe is an English word. It is not a Powhatan word. Round here, if they talk about their king, they use the word werowance. Say werowance. You said king. A werowance is a great king. But the father of Pocahontas, this Powhatan, was more powerful than a werowance. A werowance commands a tribe. This father of Pocahontas, Powhatan, he commanded over 30 tribes, each one with its own king. That seems not to impress you very much. You must know a lot of kings. I thought they were few and rare, my friends. Powhatan, I've never known a native man with as much importance and authority as the father of Pocahontas. And would that being the case, would that give Pocahontas any special importance, or was she an ordinary girl? Well, in England, what would we call the daughter of a king? By birthright, she was princess, by birthright. But 'twas not her birthright as princess that brought her success in her life. 'Twas more her qualities as a person. And I think, since you've given me such a massive amount of time here, I'm going to list for you 837 of her top qualities. Not all of them. I think you've given me time for perhaps about 3 of them.
I wish I had a borrowed notebook.
Well, you can write if you have something, write in the sand or whatever. Well, by my reckoning, the most important of the qualities of Pocahontas, the ones that came to the top for me, are these. Intelligence. She had a brain, as you and I have a brain, but she used hers. Do you not know persons who have brains but don't use them as well as they ought? Don't point at anyone. All right. Another quality she had in abundance, curiosity. What she did not know, she attempted to know. And one more, another quality she had in abundance, of course, was bravery or courage. Oh, there you have it. She hardly feared a thing. You add those to a life, intelligence, curiosity, bravery, that life will be more likely to have success than another life that does not have those qualities. That was Pocahontas. She was among the first of her native people to see our people come here to this place in the year 1607. And I told you about that first arrival with Captain John Smith. I'm so happy I was not part of that first arrival, or for the next several years.
Excuse me, why?
Well, I might likely have died. Most of those early ones perished. Most of the early ones perished. It was only years later that things became better, and it is better now for you. Your ship has gone. I can tell you all the bad parts, and you can't go back. Not until the next ship departs. But the point is, it is a better place here. We have learned a great deal more here now, and I hope to speak of encouragement more than difficult things. There was a time, my friends, when you might have great fear for me to tell you this next part, telling you that there are hundreds of us here, and all round, anywhere you might look, tens of thousands of native people. That might strike fear into your hearts. It might, and it should have in the early years. But since my marriage to Pocahontas in the year of 1614, in the month of April, well, there has been peace. Her father, Powhatan, established peace with that marriage. And there has been no killing between us of any consequence since that time. 7 years of hundreds of deaths, and that stopped with my marriage to Pocahontas. So that has been of great importance to the entire colony. Other things of note. When I speak of the entire colony, when I talk about that colony, let me define this colony. We, the English, are the newcomers, my friends, to North America. We've been here only, well, 14 years now. 1621, looking back to 1607, 14 years. My friends, The Spaniards. We're not friends of the Spaniards. They're Catholic, you know. They are. The Spaniards have been in America and successfully for many years, since Christopher Columbus, 1492. Great success they've had further to the south in the Caribbean. Many claims they've made. Great wealth they've accumulated in gold and silver, which they plundered from the native people in the Caribbean, and put aboard their treasure ships and sent back to Spain. Not all of them got back there. Great heroes such as Sir Francis Drake and Hawkins and Frobisher and others made sure some of that Spanish gold got to England. That's another reason that we and the Spaniards are not great friends. We plundered their treasure ships going across the Atlantic. But so do the French. So do the Dutch. Anyone who can plunder the Spanish treasure ships does so. They plundered the Indians. The Indians at times plunder each other. Oh, I'm not going to get into that. That would take us for hours to talk about that. But the point is, the Spaniards, in truth, have been greatly successful in America. Our success has been recent, and there was a false start also. Perhaps you know about that. We call it the Lost Colony. Have any of you heard of that in the 1580s? Our first attempt, the first English attempt to plant our feet upon America and stay. Sir Walter Raleigh's attempt, the Lost Colony, many call it, in that part of Virginia now called Roanoke Island. Well, you go to Roanoke and you will find no English colony. It is not there. They failed. With certainty, we know nothing about what happened to them, but we know they're gone. We know it failed. But that failure had importance. Even that failure, for it was the first claim of the English upon North America. And Sir Walter Raleigh named his claim honoring his monarch. Our monarch, of course, is James. His monarch, Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen. Virginia, for the Virgin Queen. And what did he say this Virginia was? If you're going to claim something and give it a name, perhaps you should define its limits. Well, he did. Sir Walter Raleigh said that Virginia, this thing he was naming, was all to the north of the Spanish colony, Florida, up the Atlantic coast, way up the Atlantic coast to where the French were settling in the north, New France. And Virginia extends from the east at the Atlantic west, as far as the next sea, ocean. Well, if you're going to make a claim, don't waste your time. Make a bold one. The Spaniards had some disagreement with that claim, but nonetheless, 'twas made. And that was what he called, Sir Walter Raleigh called Virginia. Well, Virginia, the colony was established in the very first place in the hopes of a profit by the Virginia Company. Back in England, there are investors who put forth a great deal of money to put us here in this place. And their purpose was the same purpose as a farmer opens the soil and throws seed upon the ground. Is he disposing of seed? Is he attempting to cause his family to starve by throwing away his seed? Is that what he does? What does a farmer wish to have? A harvest, a profit in a harvest. That is his purpose for doing it, and that was the purpose for the investors, to throw upon this colony great sums of money and human lives. They expected to have what the Spaniards had further to the south. I told you about that. Great wealth in gold and silver. Well, my friends, I must tell you something. When we got here, when the first arrival came, Captain John Smith and others, they found that Powhatans had no gold and silver. Do you think they were happy? They're about as happy as if you told the farmer, all of your seeds died in the field where you planted them. Well, there it is. There was no profit in gold and silver to be had. There was a failure in that way. And the investors of the company back in England said, well, if not gold and silver, then quickly something else. If you want us to continue sending you food, and supplies and new settlers. You can't seem to keep them alive over there. Well, all right, they tried in the colony here, they tried wine making, they tried silk making, they tried glass making, there was timber, there was pitch and tar. All sorts of things were loaded on the ships right here and sent back to England. But understand me, the value of those things going back to England did not equal the expense from the pockets of the investors. And that cannot go on forever. It will not go on forever. A farmer will not continue planting in a field where he gets no crop, where he has no harvest. At some point, there is an end to it. And there was a great deal of discussion about this colony. Give it to the Spaniards, they said. It is worth nothing, only pain and suffering and loss of life. Well, there was a great deal of discord. There was a great deal of unhappiness at that time. And I, John Rolfe, I'm proud to say to you that John Rolfe, came forward at that moment, and I said, you wanted profit? You wanted gold? I found your gold. Golden leaves. They grow green and they dry golden brown. Tobacco. Profit as opposed to loss. A reason to stay in America as opposed to abandoning. There it is. That is the fact of it. And since tobacco now, there is no great talk of abandoning the colony of Virginia. Not anymore. There's profit here. There is finally some reason to stay in this place. So I have great pride in that. And there's something else about that I should mention as well. That plant, tobacco, is native to America and was taken by Europeans back to Europe. It did not exist in Europe before being brought back after Columbus. Well, I want to talk about an English plant that's been put as a seed into this soil right here in Virginia.
Corn?
No, more important, that was here. There was corn aplenty in this place. The native people also grow corn and many other things. But the one that I'm talking about, well, I'm jesting with you to some extent, but I'll tell you what that seed is, that English seed. It is called the General Assembly. The General Assembly is the governor, the governor's council upon which I, John Rolfe, sit, and the elected, I said elected, burgesses. You know, we're not Spaniards or French. There is no election in Paris. There is no parliament in Madrid. Only in England have we been doing a particular thing. You must go back in your minds. Go back, way back in history for this. This plant is an old one in England. King John, in 1215, at a small field called Runnymede, was approached by his loyal subjects and told, King John, we know well how difficult it is for you to rule all by yourself, just like all the other monarchs of the world. You must be a lonesome sort, King John, and from now on we, your loyal subjects, are going to help you rule. Are we not? King John, say aye. Wise king. Wise king. And at Runnymede, King John said aye. And there at Runnymede we got our great charter, the Magna Carta, and from that also our Parliament. And that seed has been planted now here. That seed in Virginia we call the General Assembly and has the elected burgesses. My friends, this is not insignificant. And this plant, this new plant, this English plant, is kept alive by the profits of tobacco. So there it is. There it is. That's the importance of this place. So many things have happened here. So many things we've learned over the years. There is so much. And as a matter of fact, I was told that I talk a great deal too much.
No, you don't.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I know 'tis true. And I thought, given the opportunity, you might have your own queries that you might wish to put to me. You may wish to know about this, your new land, for there is a great deal more to tell you than what I've given you now. So this is the time, my friends. Do not hold back your queries. Put them to me. It is altogether possible that your query and my knowledge may match. So, if you wish to know something in particular about this place, give me your questions.
Okay, it's not about this. It's my life that I am living now. My husband's great-great-great-grandmother was, well, they were calling her an Indian princess. But I have since joined Seminole Indian group, and they're not Indian princesses. They are, to the white man, a squaw. But to the Indian, a squaw is the same thing as a whore to the white man. And she was no whore. She was a farmer's wife.
Well, I can tell you something about, in the colony of Virginia, Pocahontas is regarded with a great deal of respect. She is regarded as the daughter of Powhatan, of course, and a princess. As a matter of fact, when we made our journey to England in 1616 and 1617, she was not only called Pocahontas, she was not only called Mrs. Rolfe, and you know her Christian name, do you not? She was baptized as Rebecca.
Oh, really?
She was Rebecca Rolfe, my friends. Well, there in England, they did not call her Rebecca. They called her Lady Rebecca, and they bowed to her in England and regarded her a princess as much as any European princess. Well, that is the fact. I know of this word squaw. You've said this word squaw. I told you that the leader of a tribe, a chief of a tribe, is called a werowance. Did I not?
Yes.
Well, werowance. It means king. But in rare cases, there are females among them who are the leaders of tribes, and they call them Werowonsquaw.
Okay.
Werowonsquaw means female king.
So it's possible that Mike's great-great-grandmother really could have been.
Well, I will tell you, using the term Werowonsquaw, it is an honor. It is not a demeaning term in any way whatsoever. Are there other thoughts or questions you might have? Yours.
Are there other settlements nearby, north, for instance, or are you in pretty much?
This being the year of 1621, there is yet a new colony having been established in the northern parts of Virginia called Plymouth. That was established in December of 1620. They are new. They're 13 years after we first established Jamestown. But they're also established themselves in Virginia, in the northern parts. Now, I'll tell you why they have the name Plymouth. You see, the Virginia Company investors have two centers. In London, the investors from London have put forth their money for what we've done at Jamestown. The investors of Plymouth, England, have established the northern parts. The authority for that is theirs. It is the same, under the same charter by the king, established first in 1606. King James gave us the first charter in 1606, and thereafter several more. But it established the business, and there are stock. My brother is a merchant in London, and he owns stock in the Virginia Company. Anyone can join. Guilds have joined. Anyone can support the colony. But I will tell you, there was a great reluctance to support this colony when there was only loss. There was a great reluctance to get new settlers coming to the colony when there was only death. Can you imagine that? And 'twas the purpose of the Virginia Company investors, when sending Pocahontas and myself to England in 1616, to show there was now peace between the natives and the English, and to show there was now profit, tobacco. And so that journey to England, despite the loss of Pocahontas, was a great advantage for the Virginia Company. It was, and it was for that purpose. Other thoughts? There is one there, in the back.
As a kid watching Errol Flynn or whatever, I always expected that Pocahontas would marry Captain Smith. She saves him and all that. And it was later you learn that he marries you. What is the truth between the relationship, if any, between Pocahontas and Captain Smith?
You no doubt have heard some sort of a rumor about a romance between Captain John Smith and Pocahontas. Let me tell you what that is. Rubbish. Throw it out. It stinks too much. All right, let me tell you about that. I'll give you an answer to that. In the year 1607, Pocahontas' great friend, Captain John Smith, was a man of 27 years. If you believe me not, check his birth record. 'Twas his age. In that same year of 1607, Pocahontas was 10 or 11 years of age. 10 or 11 years of age, according to Captain John Smith and all the others. You can read their writings. Well, there was, I do not deny a friendship. My friends, there was an extraordinary friendship. Keep this in mind. He was the man leading a group of men who was starving to death, and she was the daughter of the great king who had stores of food. Now, put those two together. Captain John Smith was not a fool. Captain John Smith saw an opportunity. This friendship was a great benefit to the colony. It was not, my friends, a romance. The native girls do not marry until they are able to bear children. The native girls do not marry until they are 17, 18. English girls do not marry until they are that age. Normally, they might be promised